G'day ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. We are going to watch some more games from the Blizzcon Invitational 2011, which has just taken place, of course, on the weekend over at Blizzard headquarters, or wherever the hell it was. I can't actually remember, but all good fun on the weekend. Of course, there were some games which weren't actually broadcast live on the live stream, even if you paid that incredibly crazy $40 for the stream. You didn't actually get everything that was broadcast. So what I'm going to do is try and bring some games to you guys through my own channel, and hopefully we'll grab some of the good ones and see what happens. Of course, have got Moonglade versus MVP. Make sure you go and check that one out. Game 1 in particular was very interesting. And here today we're going to have a look at Sen versus Naniwa. Now this is going to be on Abyssal Caverns, I believe is the name. I can't actually remember. For some reason, I just have totally forgotten all of the names of the new maps from this season. But of course, as we can see, Sen down here in the bottom right position. This map is generally pretty good for grabbing a quick expansion, as basically every single race you've got a nice little choke point here that you can wall off if you're a Protoss or a Terran. And of course, as a Zerg, it's nice and secluded here. It gives you a little bit of room to defend at the front just around here. And then of course, given the distances across the map, I'm pretty sure you can't actually, is it on this version? I don't actually know, but I'm sure in one of the versions of this map you can't actually spawn in the close ground spots. Actually, well, that could be this one. Anyway, either way, these guys are going to be quite a long way away from each other. Top left-hand corner is Naniwa, of course, from Complexity. He's going to be up here. He does look as if he's going to go for that fast expand with the Forge first, it looks. And he's going to look to obviously get a nice economic position going. Now, of course, as we can see, Naniwa just heading down here, being incredibly annoying there with that initial scouting probe, putting down a pylon so that drone cannot get that hatchery started. As we can see in Sen's main, he's actually already got his spawning pool started a little bit earlier, so he's going to go for what looks to be a gasless opening here. And so he's going to get, Sen's going to have his few lings out, perhaps, just to defend against this annoying little probe. But it looks as if the probe was not successful in stopping that hatchery too long, and it looks as if the drone got his just desserts. So the probe, meanwhile, is going to have to be very careful with what he does now. As a Protoss player, you really don't want to actually lose this probe if possible. It's actually a really good way to stay ahead in the game, is if you can keep this probe alive, come back in a second time to scout a little later on, and just see if you can catch out the Zerg, getting the probe inside the main to actually check out if there are any tech buildings or anything like that, check out how many gas are actually in operation, and of course being able to check out how many drones are up and running as well is a big indicator of what you may be facing in the rest of the match. So as we can see, Sen is actually just going quite hard on the drones at the moment. He has a few lings out, but he's not going too hardcore on that. Doesn't have his speed started, of course. The extractor actually just completed just a moment before, as we saw, so he's probably going to get that speed up and running first, I would assume. Looks as if Naniwa being, again, very forward thinking there, putting down a pylon at that third base, just making sure that Sen cannot take that third as quickly as he possibly could. The probe, meanwhile, is just going to scout through here, just trying to see, as we said before, how much tech is up and running before Sen doesn't actually get too much done. Wow, that's some weird shadowing that just happened there. But meanwhile, back at Naniwa's base, he's got this Nexus up. He's going to chrono out some probes, of course. The big advantage of getting that second Nexus out is that you can go real hard on your probes, chronoing them out, getting them two at a time. It really keeps you in the mix as an economic basis. So we can see that he is going to get the cybernetics started up. We're not going to see that something which has become a little bit of a trend lately, which was that you do that fast expansion and then either get a second gate or go really hard on chronoing out a few zealots so that you can deny the Zerg third base, which, as we can see here, Sen looks like he may be preparing to take. He's not actually spending too much of his money just at the moment. Actually, I don't know if that's something wrong with my graphics or something, but that shadowing has just gone really crazy on that hatchery. But either way, we've got that pylon now gone, so Sen is going to be able to take that third base if he wants. He can see, of course, with this scouting overlord that Naniwa is using a lot of his chrono up, so he will be able to get his warp gate tech up pretty quickly. We can see here the very interesting, the sort of way that Naniwa has actually walled off. He hasn't, a lot of the time, of course, if you're a Protoss player, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Normally when you wall this this map off, you actually wall with the cyber about here. You get a full wall off. It's all very sexy, can protect you against lings, but of course, what you really want to do, which a lot of players have started adapting and sort of moving to, is a way to wall off without actually fully blocking it, so that you can send out little pesky buggers such as this scouting probe again, because if you fully wall off, you're going to have trouble actually getting out, because of course you can't actually get anywhere. But as you can see here, this probe got out quite easily there. This pylon here is going to get spotted, but this extra one down here probably won't, I don't think, because the lings are going to be able to take care of this probe and then actually go and take care of that the pylon that's underneath that overlord. Actually cancels that pylon. Interesting work there by Naniwa. Actually, this one just stays out of range, so he's not going to get that one scouted out. But let's have a look at exactly what Sen is up to in his main. He's got the spire going up there at the natural. The lair is done, of course. The Evo chamber is prepared. He's not actually getting any spore crawlers up at the moment. He's not in any dire need of the spore crawlers, of course. Being a long distance positioning here, he should be okay against any sorts of Void Ray attacks or anything like that, because of course the Void Rays are generally, they're not the fastest unit. They can get across the map pretty quickly, but he's not going to be too worried about that sort of thing for the moment. And as we can see, we've got a decent amount of gas going into those sentries as well, so he should be fine. But actually, speaking of which, just as soon as I mention that, we actually get double Stargate coming out from Naniwa. So he's got his 4 gas going, and he is going to start saving it, I would assume. Probably going to put some more of his expenditure into the Zealots, just to make sure that he's not spending too much on his gas. But just at the moment here, we can see an Overseer is just scouting in, trying to see what he can find here. Did see both of the Stargates there. That is going to mean a lot for Sen. Means he's going to be able to get some units out to protect against that. As we can see, a couple of Zealots are going to just march in, perhaps just do a little bit of scouting. They're obviously not going to get in and win the day, as it were. 3 Spine Crawlers are going to poke away at those Zealots, just trying to get through. He's going to take a few shots. Perhaps not the best way to utilize those, but he does actually take care of a 1 Ling, I think that was, maybe, but didn't actually get too much scouting done. So meanwhile, while this has been going on, the 3rd base has been taken over on this side of the map by Sen. Let's just see if Naniwa can see that. No, he can't just yet. Hasn't actually scouted out that far. Is scouting out with a couple of extra Zealots here, just to see if Sen does have that 3rd base up and running, of course. Not actually that common to see people take the gold as their 3rd base, but something interesting we can see is that, whoops, not the gas. We're going to click on those mutas. The mutas are actually going to fly across and actually just come inside the main here. There aren't too many defenses there, but a few Phoenix have been chronoed out there by Naniwa. Going to have to be really careful with the micro there. Sen looks as if he's doing a great job of taking out the Phoenix, actually losing more of those Mutalists, it seems, and the mutas are going to try and take care of the rest of the Phoenix. They do take out one, but most of those mutas have been destroyed. It looks as if Naniwa is going to have to be very careful with how he actually moves around the map here. As we can see, the Phoenix are now going to scout out down towards this bottom left-hand position, and they are going to find that base. So Sen is going to need to get a spore crawler up. As we can see, he's just getting that up and running now. A couple of mutas actually picking up a couple of these Zealots, which are just running around randomly. A little bit surprised that Sen hasn't picked up that there is a pylon somewhere down here. What he's actually going to do is just try and get as much across here to defend against this incoming attack as possible. We've got a few more Phoenix coming through. The Zerglings now running by, but looks as if the Corruptors will be okay to take care of those few Phoenix that are left over. But it looks as if, meanwhile, Sen is actually going to have to deal with this attack coming into this 3rd base here. The Zealots actually trying to do what they can, while the Phoenix are actually up in the sky dealing with those Corruptors. A little bit of micro from both players there, keeping as much of the unit count here alive as possible. As we can see, a couple of the Phoenix getting very, very low there for Naniwa, but now we can see that he is actually starting to push through with some extra units. With this pylon here, the proxy pylon is going to supply Naniwa with extra reinforcements very, very quickly. And as we can see, Sen is trying to do what he can, getting some more Lings coming across the map as fast as he can. Maybe we'll see a block out there from Naniwa. No, we won't, but it looks as if Going to get us around on these Lings, and then a beautiful little force field wall there to keep the Lings away from those sentries, keeping them alive a little bit longer, which is really good, of course, because these sentries are providing the Guardian Shield for those Stalkers on the ground to take care of the few Mutalisks that were left over. And as you can see, he is going to have a few more sentry force fields actually left over in this little pack here. Looks as if the Zealots are going to try and interdict as many of these Lings from coming across as they can. Meanwhile, the damage being done inside this third base here by the ground forces there. There's one Spinecrawler ready to defend against anything that might come along. Force fields again being placed at that ramp just to make sure. Another great little force field wall there by Naniwa, just trying to protect the sentries as much as possible. The drones coming into the fight there, actually doing a little bit of damage against these units, but it looks as if Naniwa is doing a fantastic job keeping the Lings out. If that force field was not there, this attack would definitely be over. And as you can see, looks as if Naniwa is actually preparing to go for another attack in the main. He may just try and actually do what he can against the third base again, but it looks as if while this is being going on, +2 is on the way for Naniwa. He's got a few more units just coming through here. We've got the upgrade for Blink on the way as well. That'll provide a lot of utility with those Stalkers, keeping them alive against the Roaches if they may come about, along with the Lings as well. But as we can see, not really too much expenditure in the Roaches, of course. In fact, we don't even have a Roach Warren, so Naniwa is not going to need to worry about any possible Roaches. What he is going to need to worry about is these Corruptors. Perhaps want to get these Phoenix out of the battle. Maybe want to keep them alive as long as possible, given that there are still a few Mutas up in the air. And he is trying to take care of these as much as possible, as we can see, doing a great job chasing after these Mutas. They're going to have no way of escaping here. Taking down one, taking down possibly two. There he goes, beautiful work there. And he is going to have to deal with a few more Mutalisks that are coming in from the side. But just have a look at that. That third base is now down and out for the count. So we'll see if Naniwa is perhaps going to push across again and take another shot at this main base, or if he's going to fall back and make sure he's protected at this third base here. He does have a few cannons, which will certainly help out in making sure this is protected. But as we can see, Sen now preparing to march in here with this big group of Mutalisks. We've got a couple of Corruptors which are not going to do a single thing, and there are just so many cannons here. This will be very interesting. I don't think Naniwa is going to hold this, but he certainly will do a lot of damage and hold up those forces. Meanwhile, just at the front door of Sen, he's actually got a lot of Stalkers just busting in here. There is a macro hatch out the front, which is not going to do too much. In fact, maybe could make things a little bit worse here for Sen, but it looks as if the Spinecrawlers are going to do what they can. A couple of extra Spinecrawlers morphing in there, going to provide a little bit of extra defense, but there are so many Stalkers out for Naniwa, and he's got the blink, as we just saw there, able to blink up away and then on top of these Stalkers here. Looks as if the attack inside the natural is still going on here for Sen. He's doing a good job forcing away the probes from the mineral line there. The Zealots actually just in a huge number here are going to be able to take care of those Lings on the ground. The Phoenix takes care of a Mutalist, leaving only a Corruptor, and unfortunately for that Corruptor, he cannot aim his little snout downwards. And there is a GG, well played from Sen. So great little opening there from Naniwa, getting out a few Phoenix to counter those Mutalists, and just doing a great amount of damage there. And then just this proxy pylon, you could say this was the hero proxy pylon, winning the game there, just providing a lot of easy reinforcements for Naniwa while he pushed in, force fielded the ramp, and held out the defending forces of Sen. So great game there from Naniwa. We'll probably see if he's going to do something like that in the next game, which I believe is on Shakuris. We'll go there and see if Sen can fight back, or if Naniwa will take this 2-0. Cheers.